Hey everybody, this is Carl. I'm really excited for this video, so let me give a brief introduction. This is a recording from a presentation that I did at the Alex Fedotoff Mastermind in New York. He's a great guy. He invited me to speak and talk about conversion rate optimization and A/B testing for his students. So that's what I did. It's a 60-minute presentation and 20 to 30-minute Q&A. I'm sharing our whole internal A/B testing process that we use for our clients to boost their conversions and AOV. Show some case studies of what we did and how you can apply it too for your store. This is specifically for high 7- and 8-figure D2C brands because this is not a magic pill that you can swallow to double your revenue overnight, right? This is a longer term process. Really important for me to say. So watch through this video. I hope you can take a lot of value from this. I'm not speaking about anything that I've learned from a book or from what I've seen online or something. We manage a portfolio of e-commerce brand that did over $250 million in revenue this year. And we solely focus on building the funnels for them, building the landing pages for them, and make sure that they are getting a great ROAS on what they spend. So this is everything. What I'm talking about is from our experiences and what we see work for our clients and partners. So without further ado, let's get into it, and I'm really excited. So stay tuned.
That's example of looking for the competitive edge. So you're competing. How can you like outcompete other people, right? Maybe it's a better funnel, maybe it's like higher like average order value, maybe it's higher like repeat purchase rate so that your LTV is higher long term. But that's like an example of an edge that you can have to be more competitive and have higher margins and just less stress in your business. All right. I think we can get started. Jenny, can we get? Yeah. Thanks, bro. I just want to make it like as interactive as possible, and with Carl here, like, should be awesome conversation. And then we can do Q&A. Perfect.
Test. Sweet. All right, everybody. Really excited to be talking about how you can guys get more sales without increasing the ad spend based on conversion rate optimization. So today, you probably spend a lot of time perfecting your creatives, your products, your offers, customer service, media buying, and so much more, right? And you're probably also sending crazy traffic to your store. Give me a hand. Who is sending a lot of traffic to their store? Sweet. But you're probably just capturing a few drops of that traffic, aka the conversions. And we do not want to be like this guy in the picture, right? We do not want to be like him trying to get the conversions. So I have a question for you. Luca, what are you selling? What is your conversion rate over the past month? 3%? Okay, sweet. Anybody else got a conversion rate for me? 5? Oh, damn. We got a conversion rate here. Low AOV? Okay, sweet. Let me get one last conversion rate. What about you? Not top of your head? What about you? 5%? Okay, sweet. That's pretty good, actually. So, okay, sweet. Let's say that. But everybody can do this thought experiment with me. How much better would your profit be if you could add 1% on your conversion rate, right? How about an extra 3% in conversion rate? They can think through this for themselves. Like, how much more revenue and profit would you be generating with 3% on top of your conversion rate? So today I want to talk about how you can make more money from the clicks that you're already generating, right? From the traffic that you're already pushing to the store, how can you convert more of that? And I will show you how we took a beauty brand and added over 2.3 million in only 3 months by adding a few tweaks to the site. Before they started working with us, they were at a 2.77 conversion rate with $135 AOV. And in 3 months, we took them to a 4.34% conversion rate with $191 AOV. And that's what I want to share today. So, really quickly before I get started, I just want to introduce myself so you know who I am and who's talking to you. German, I love fitness, I've been doing a lot of powerlifting, and I love hip-hop. I'm running a CRO agency. We specialize in optimizing conversion rates, optimizing AOV. We also build a SaaS/AI tool right now. We're currently working with over 25 9-figure brands, exclusively working on their funnels, their landing page to boost their conversions. We acquired 2 agencies this year, and we also started the first angel investments into 8-figure brands this year. But really important, I'm not here for me, I'm here for you guys, and I'm here to provide value for you. So, here's what you're going to learn in the next 45 minutes. First of all, why should you care about conversion rate optimization? Why is it an important topic? Secondly, the proven conversion levers based on consumer psychology. I want to talk a lot about consumer psychology today so that you can get a better understanding of what's behind people buying, right? What gets them to buy and what plays into people converting on your store. And lastly, I'm going to share my secret sauce. I'm going to share our internal CRO processes that we use to increase the conversion rate and average order value of our clients with A/B testing. So, to start off with this, why should you guys care about conversion optimization? And for this, I want to talk about the different metrics and the different KPIs, why CRO is so important, and how everything is correlated. And here are the 2 most important metrics on your website that you cannot ignore. It's conversion rate and it's the average order value. Alex did a great example. It's pretty easy to have a high conversion rate with a low average order value, right? Everybody can do that. But we want to increase both of them. You want to treat them like brothers and sisters, right? They go hand in hand, and we have to boost both of them. We want to have a high conversion rate, and we want to have a high average order value. So, I want to show you how conversion rate and average order value are playing together with all of the other KPIs. So for this, let's focus on the ROAS for 1 second. On the one hand side, we have the ad performance playing into your ROAS, right? How much you're paying per click, the CPC. So your media buying, your creatives, your copywriting, and everything that you're doing to pushing traffic to your page. On the other hand side, we have the website performance. We have how much you're making per click, right? And let's focus on this for a second. The earnings per click are based on your conversion rate and your average order value. So, just to give you an example calculation, let's say you have a ROAS of 2 based on an earnings per click of $2, and this is based on a conversion rate of 4% with an average order value of $50. Let's say you can boost your conversion rate from 4% to 5%. This will translate to an increased EPC and an increased ROAS from 2 to 2.5. And let's say you can also boost your average order value from $50 to $60. This would then take you to a 3 ROAS. So without touching the ad performance, the ad stays the same, right? Same traffic, same media buying, same creative, same everything. We're just focusing on the website performance here. And just by improving the conversion rate and average order value, in this example, we can boost the ROAS from a 2 to a 3. So just imagine how this would translate into the revenue and profit for your business. And what happens if you don't focus on conversion rate optimization? And for this, I brought a quote from a good friend of mine, Ian Nagy. He's the founder of eTower. They spent over $150 million on YouTube ads. And I talked to him, and we were talking about A/B testing and everything. And he said, quote, "We A/B tested hundreds of creatives. We spent millions of dollars on single ad sets while not running a single test on the landing page. And I do not want you to know how much money we left on the table." So this is what happens when you neglect conversion rate optimization. You're basically wasting money if you're not paying attention to these figures. You're just like these guys, right? You take the money, you put it into the oven, you're burning money. So, Carl, how do I stop the losses and boost my conversion rate? Thank you so much for asking. For this, we should start with understanding what makes people convert, right? What's the psychology, what's playing into people converting, what's playing into people buying from you. So then, based on this understanding, we can influence their decision making. And this is what I'm going to show you now. And for this, I brought a great formula because I know everybody here loves math, so I brought this conversion formula for you. And I didn't come up myself with this. This is based on research that MagLabs Institute did. And they put thousands of hours of research into coming up with this formula and understanding of which factors are actually playing into people buying from you. So the different factors that are playing into a conversion happening are the customer's motivation, the value proposition that you have, the incentive and the friction on your store, and then also the customer's anxiety. And what I want you to do now is break this down together with you guys so you can get a better understanding and also understand how to play with these different factors. First of all, the motivation. It's really important that you understand the thought stage that your customer's in, right? Same with the awareness level. You need to understand the source of the traffic. So which traffic are you pushing to the page? Is it Google retargeting traffic? Is it cold TikTok traffic? Is it really hot Facebook traffic after a long VSL or whatever, right? We need to understand the beliefs the customer needs to have to buy from you. And then lastly, we need to understand the pain points and their desires. For the value proposition, you want to maximize the force of the perceived value of your product and your offer. For this, it's really important to understand the appeal that your service or your product that you're selling to the customer has. So you need to understand how desirable is this to your target audience. Then, exclusivity. The customers are always asking themselves, is this offer available anywhere else or can I only buy this from this store, right? They want to compare the pricings and everything. Credibility. Do you have the trust from the customer that they trust you, that your claims are actually trustworthy? Because everybody can talk a bunch of shit, right? But you need to be able that people trust you with what you're saying. So this is also a really important one. And lastly, clarity. And this is where I see a lot of people not really hitting the nail in the head. Because they're selling a product, but they are not being really specific about what they're selling and what they're offering. Then we have the incentive and the friction. Essentially, we want to make it as easy as possible to buy for your customers. On the one hand side, we have incentive playing into it. We have incentive for the friction that we cannot eliminate. What do I mean with friction? Friction is every action that your customers have to take in order to buy. Something like clicking a button, something like putting their credit card details into a form field, right? So for them, for those kind of friction steps that we cannot eliminate, we need to give them a certain incentive that they actually follow through with this and not abandon the customer journey. And then for the friction, the steps and the length needs to be reasonable. So, for example, when they put in their credit card details and all of the customer information, etc., we don't want to bombard them with like 10 questions like, where did she hear from us and all of that shit. We can ask them post-purchase, right? But we don't want to do this like why the conversion is happening. And then also for the friction, we want to minimize confusion. This is the great thing about Shopify because a lot of people are familiar with Shopify, they know how it works, they know where to put in their details and everything. But you need to be watching out for this, like minimize the confusion that's happening. And lastly, we have the customer's anxiety. Customers are always anxious when they're buying. They ask themselves, are they fucking me over? Will they really ship out the product? When I have the product, will it really be high quality and all of that stuff, right? So we want to relieve the anxiety. We want to, first of all, understand the objections that they have in their mind, right? Same with sales. We can only handle the objections if we know them, right? So we need to understand the source of the objection. Then we want to address the substance. So we don't want to address the surface level. We really want to understand what's behind it and really at the deep source of what's their anxiety about. And then once we have the answers to these objections, we want to put the answers really close to the key conversion steps. So put them around the call to action in the buy box, for example. If they have anxiety around the product or something, you can put a guarantee in the buy box, so you can put it really close to the conversion steps. So we talked about the different factors that are playing into the conversion happening, and now I want to talk about where the conversion happens. And for this, I want to show you guys the conversion pyramid. Everybody here knows the funnel, right, from marketing. Everybody knows people fall into it, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, right, and then they may be falling out in the funnel. With the conversion pyramid, it's kind of like turned upwards down. And what happens here, like from the consumer psychology perspective, people need to climb up the stairs of the pyramid in order to buy. What you can see on the left-hand side, they need to have a lot of micro yeses happening in order to get to the macro yes, the conversion, right? So they have different questions and different micro yeses that need to happen for them to buy at the end of the day. And I will give you a great example so you have a better understanding of how this pyramid works. So, for example, you push the traffic to the landing page, and at the top of the landing page, you have the value proposition, right? They read through the value proposition, and then they ask themselves, okay, is this appealing to me? Yes, next. They click on the call to action. Now they are on the product page, and they ask themselves, am I willing to spend $70 for this solution? Yes. They click, they are on the cart. Now in the cart, they are asking themselves, okay, can I pay with my Amex that I have laying right next to me? Yes. How long will shipping take? 2 to 3 days. Okay, perfect, right? So just from the understanding, they have questions in like every single step of the whole customer journey. And that's why you need to be considering all of the steps in the customer journey. We don't want to focus all of our conversion rate optimization efforts only on the landing page. Because maybe you're doing a great job on the landing page and have a great value proposition, and you convince them, but then they put the product in the cart, and then you don't have the answer to a simple question like how long will shipping take? Or will I be charged extra for shipping? Or like which payment providers can I use? Right? So this is really, really important. So this was a lot about the consumer psychology. Before going on to the really high level stuff and really our process and the source for like how you guys can A/B test everything, I want to talk about the foundations. Because at the end of the day, and everybody knows this here, otherwise you wouldn't be in this mastermind, the foundations need to be correct in order for us to be able to scale, right? So, golden rule number 1 for Shopify stores. They need to be built for mobile. You need to be focused on a great mobile page. And here I have the example of Lululemon. This is the desktop page, right? And it looks pretty sleek, but then it also needs to look really great on mobile, right? What you see happening a lot of times with stores and with pages, once you look at them from your iPhone, they have all the elements like underneath each other. It's taking up a lot of space. They're wasting a lot of space. You need to be scrolling really far, right? So you need to be focused on mobile because nowadays, for like all of the different stores, the traffic is between 60 to 80% of mobile. So nobody really cares about what your page looks like on desktop. So a quick action step, when you build out your pages, for example, in the Shopify backend, instantly build it in the mobile view. Don't build it in the desktop view, right? Because you want to be focused on what it looks like in mobile. Next, build for page speed. For this, I dug up a really interesting study that has been done this April 2022, and they've been analyzing over 100 million sessions, right? And for this, let's say you have 1,000 clicks sent to your website for a $50 product. This is the difference from your load time to your conversion rate to the results on this scale. So for a store that loads in like 1 second with a $50 product, 1,000 clicks, we get $1,525 in return. And if the same page would load in 4 seconds, conversion rate drops to like 1/4, 1/5, and same with the results at the end of the day. For this, really actionable steps, a lot of Fiverr developers are scamming you and are charging a fuck ton of money, and they are not really improving your page speed. So what you need to be doing is you need to build the Shopify that you have in the 2.0 version, on the optimized, on the new Shopify OS, because they have been optimizing a lot of the code in the backend with the Liquid, the Java, and all of this shit, right? So Shopify 2.0. Then what you want to be doing is you want to reduce all of the media assets. You want to go and compress the JPEG, the product pictures, the GIFs, and all of the videos that you have on the page. And lastly, you want to find a skilled developer so you can have him custom code everything, right? Really complex stuff like reviews or upsells not really be custom coded, but everything like design, copy, elements can be custom coded by a developer. And if you have these 3 steps, this will improve your page speed a lot. So don't get fucked by Fiverr developers, please. Lastly, last golden rule, store needs to build for functionality. What do I mean with this? You need to make it as easy to buy and reduce friction, easy to navigate, easy to use, customer-centric. Action step that you can be taking: give your store to like 20, 30, 50 people and give them an objective. Something like, hey, please go on my store and buy a personalized bracelet for your girlfriend or something, right? Just so that they have a really objective that they need to go to. And then you push them to the homepage, and then you watch them over their shoulder, kind of like what steps they are doing. And whenever you see them thinking, whenever they have to think, and whenever they're stopping in the customer journey, because they maybe cannot find the product, or they don't know where to click to put in the name for the jewelry, right? That's where you know where you need to optimize for the functionality, so that the customer journey is really frictionless. Those were 3 golden rules. Now I'm going to talk about what pages should look like, right? What elements should they include in order to drive conversions? Disclaimer, this obviously is one example. So we cannot generalize this, we cannot apply this to all, but this is to showcase certain elements that you should be using. So, it starts with your ad. It starts with congruency between the ad that your traffic sees, where they're clicking on, and then the landing page, because we need to have congruency. And I will show you how they did it. They have the same imagery. They have a happy customer smiling who is showing the product, and then when you read through the copy, it says, you deserve clear skin confidence, and then on the landing page, it says, feel confident in your skin. So this is what you want to do, first of all, between the ad and the landing page above the fold. It needs to be congruent, because otherwise people will click on the ad and then they may see a product in a different color or different copywriting, and then they're confused for a second, right? And you do not want to have this happening. So congruency is really important. Then on your landing page above the fold, you want to have a great value proposition. And I will break down later our process that you guys can be using on how to draft a great value proposition. Then you want to have some sort of social proof and a call to action. Those are the basics for the landing page above the fold. Secondly, we want to build trust, right? I talked about this earlier in the value proposition. People need to trust you. People need to understand that you're credible in what you're saying and that your claims are trustworthy. So what you want to include on your pages are store benefits, right? Something like our product, gluten-free, PETA-approved, paraben-free, made in USA, right? What are the benefits that your customers have when buying from you? Then testimonials. This is working obviously really great for CPG brands, skincare, supplements, health, and all of this. Befores and afters. They have been working great. They will be working great every single time. And then you also want to build authority. How can you build authority? Again, same examples for like health, beauty, all of that. You can be working with doctors, for example, because a doctor is an authority figure. And when the doctor says, hey, product XYZ from Ava Skincare is great, you'll believe it because the doctor is a trusted authority source, right? Next, for the collection page. Again, we want to have congruent imagery, same copywriting, and all of that. And now, really easy, but really interesting. What you want to be doing, one of the first products in your collection page should be a bundle, right? Because what happens with the bundle, when you place it at the first product, it increases the average order value because people are inclined to go for like one of the first products in the collection page. So first of all, you're going to increase the average order value. Secondly, we have a really interesting psychological thing happening. Because the first price that they see on your page is $149 for this bundle, right? And afterwards, all of the prices for the single products, like $34, seem small. Just because we have the price anchor of $149, and then afterwards, all of the different prices seem smaller. That's that. Then you want to have reviews and a quick call to action. Now, product. Especially for CPG, for health, for beauty, for jewelry, you should be using human images of your customers, your target audience, displaying the use of the product. Because if you show this in the product pictures, your traffic and your target audience can identify themselves with your customers, right? It's kind of like inclusion. Then again, you want reviews, you want to be leading your product description with a testimonial, and then most importantly, you want your product description to be as easy digestible as possible. And I see this a lot of times. People have, whatever, like 10 sentences in one paragraph, or like these huge fucking articles, right? And nobody's going to read that because everything looks the same. And a lot of people nowadays, they have a really low attention span, so they just want to skim through it, right? That's why you need to be breaking down your product description into headlines, small paragraphs, like 2-3 sentences, bullet points or tick marks or something like that. Lastly, you want to be increasing your average order value. I'm talking a lot about conversion rate, but average order value is also really important, obviously. So first of all, where can you be utilizing the cross-sells and upsells? After they click add to cart, in the cart drawer, in the checkout process, on the thank you page. And here's a gold nugget for you guys. When you cross-sell or upsell, you need to rationalize the cross-sell, right? Here, for example, for the skincare product, as soon as they put add to cart for this product, we have a small pop-up coming and saying, your skin will thank you for this routine. So we are future pacing them on creating a routine with all of the different products from this brand, right? And now it makes sense for them to add the 2 other products in the cart. And then we just crossing them, right? Same with if you're selling the underwear. You could be doing the exact same thing. They put the first underwear panty in here, and then you can say something like, complete your fit, buy the matching bra, right? Something like that. So rationalize the cross-sell for them so they are like, oh yeah, shit, this makes sense. Like I should be buying these other products. Because if I have not only the Essence mask, but also these other products, then my skin will be even better, right? So, key takeaways from this. You need to have congruency between your ads and your landing page. You need to build trust. You cannot show too much social proof, trust, and reviews. You need to have persuasive copywriting, great value propositions, great USPs. You need to have a really irresistible offer. And for this, I highly recommend reading $100 Million Offers from Alex Fedotoff. Really fucking insane book. And then lastly, you want to cross or upsell to increase your average order value. If you want to take a picture from this, key takeaways, really simple to remember. Sweet, a lot of the basics, a lot of the foundations. Are you guys ready for the high level stuff? Yeah? Sweet, okay. This is our secret sauce. This is literally our whole process that we use for our clients to boost their conversion and average order value. I'm going to break down the complete process, show all of the tools that we use so that you guys can use it for your own brands. First of all, the bird's eye view on the process, right? So you understand it before I dive deep into all of the different sections. First of all, everything starts with data, right? We don't want to rely on our gut, on our intuition, or something else. We want to be relying on the data. Then based on the data, we want to come up with different ideas on how we can optimize now, right? Next step is take those ideas and do the design work and the copy work for those. Next step, set up an A/B test, let the A/B test run, evaluate the results, and then afterwards implement and iterate based on that, right? Because this is a really consistent process. We're testing all the time. We're doing improvements all the time. So let's dive into this. How to get the interesting data to understand your target audience, their psychology, and how they're interacting with the store. Tools that you want to be using are Google Analytics and Hotjar. Google Analytics gives you a great overview of the KPIs for the different pages in the customer flow. And obviously you need it for all of the data tracking and to analyze it, right? Then Hotjar, and Hotjar is really fucking interesting. Everybody knows what Hotjar is? Sweet, perfect. Is everybody utilizing Hotjar? Okay, sweet. I will show you how to. So, 2 different functionalities from Hotjar that are really, really important and interesting. First of all, and everybody has probably seen this, right? The click maps, the heat maps, where people click, scroll, and everything. This is really really important to understand where they're spending the time on the page, where they're trying to click, how far are they scrolling on the page, where do you need to put all of the important information about your product, right? Because if you can see the people drop off after like half of the page, then they are not going to see all the information above that. And then, really interesting too, the Hotjar surveys. Are you guys using this right now? Quick hand. Who is using Hotjar surveys? Damn, okay. Really, really underused, really underestimated tool. These are called survey pop-ups, and you can be asking your audience different questions. Let's say your traffic is on the product page, they've been scrolling, they've been reading, but they didn't take any action for 2 minutes. Then you can have a pop-up coming up on the product page asking them, hey.
So this one is like behavior-based?
Yeah, you can make this behavior-based. So with the example, they didn't do anything for like 2 minutes. You can ask them, hey, is there any information missing for you on this page to make a decision, right? And then what's happening is you're going to get highly qualitative feedback from your prospects on like the information they need to buy from you. Then, lastly, what you want to be doing, and you can do this with Hotjar surveys, or you can do this with Google Forms, push out surveys to your customer audience. These surveys should be based around the pain points, beliefs, motives, and desires. So you should be asking questions like, why did you buy from us? What problem did you want to solve with the product? How are you utilizing this product in your day-to-day? What is the greatest thing about the product? Why did you choose us and not a competitor, right? You need to design certain questions based around understanding their pain points, beliefs, motives, and desires. Because then you can just go through the answers and really easily understand like what makes them buy, what's important for them. Maybe for you as the brand owner, you're thinking, okay, maybe my skincare, yeah, looks good, smells good. They should just buy it, right? Looks good, smells good. But for them, it's more important about how they feel. They want to feel confident in their skin again, right? So it's really important that you do these surveys and understand what they want and what they need, and then afterwards you can optimize your messaging and resonate more with them. At the end of the day, it's quite easy to collect all of this data, right? All of you guys are using Hotjar, but then it's really difficult to understand what to do with the data, right? We've all been there, we've looked at these Hotjar heat maps, click maps, and we were like, yeah, okay, this looks nice, but like, what am I doing with this information right now, right? So I want to show you guys what you can do with the data and how you can derive ideas from the data. And for this, I brought an example case study of one of our fashion clients from Germany. And they've been pushing all of the traffic to their homepage. Because on the homepage, they have all of the products lined up, right? The t-shirts, the sweatshirts, the hoodies, and everything. And they were thinking, yeah, if you push the traffic to the homepage, then they are just going to scroll down and find products that they like and then buy those products. Makes sense, right? But when we had a look at the Hotjar user recordings, we could see that they weren't really scrolling down. Instead, they were instantly clicking on the menu, opening the menu, and then clicking on the collections where they wanted to go to. T-shirts, sweatshirts, or the newest drop. That's what we've seen from the Hotjar data. Then we went into the Google Analytics report on the traffic report and seen that these 3 collections are getting all of the traffic. You can do the math yourself on the right-hand side. You're seeing that the other collections are not getting any of the traffic. So based on this data, we came up with the idea, if we now take these 3 most clicked collections that everybody's clicking on and put them directly in the above the fold as like a quick and easy navigation, we can then increase the conversion rate, because essentially we make it so much easier for users to find and buy the product that they need, right? And now, after collecting the data, after looking at the data, understanding the data, and coming up with the idea, you know, you don't want to just implement this idea, right? You want to A/B test the idea to understand how the market responds to it. Because at the end of the day, like, we could still be wrong. I mean, how many times did you have it that you wrote like a great advertorial or did a really great creative, and you were like, this is going to bomb, right? I'm going to put this live, I'm going to get a great ROAS. And then like the market didn't like it, right? So that's why we want to A/B test everything before pushing it live. So, quick overview, this is how A/B tests work on the store. You have a certain amount of traffic that you're pushing to the page every single month. Let's say, for example, 500,000 users. What happens before they hit the page, the A/B testing software is going to split the traffic and send half of the traffic to the old page and half of the traffic to the new page. And then basically, you can collect all of the KPIs that you need to understand whether this is working or not. So for example, have a look at the conversion rate, have a look at the average order value and the revenue. And then this makes it really easy to understand whether you should implement the change on the page or not. Did it increase sales? Did it increase the average order value? Did it boost your revenue at the end of the day, right? So, how can you set up an A/B test? How does that work? Yeah? Usually between 2 to 4 weeks. Yeah, I will talk about like how to run it in a second. So, tools that you can be utilizing to set up an A/B test like that. Google Optimize. And this is a really great tool because it's free, it's in the ecosystem of Google. So it plays really well with Google Analytics, right? Oh, not going to talk about how to set up the A/B test and all the technical because there are a lot of YouTube videos, but you should be using Google Optimize, set up the A/B test, let it run, right? Last and really important step, evaluating the results. And I see a lot of people like fucking this up. I don't want to call anybody out. Luca? No kidding. But it's really important that you don't let your A/B test run for a day or 2 days and then implement it because you see like a little bit more conversions. It's the same with having 2 ad sets and A/B testing creatives. And they both have 100 clicks and one has 5 transactions and the other one has 7. And you're like, oh yeah, great, I should just scale the second ad set. No, that's not how it's working, right? And that's the same with the store. You cannot implement shit based on like a fucking 100 people looking at it, right? So, where do I find the reporting? Where do I find all the data after running the A/B test? Go into Google Analytics, go on the behavior reports and click on experiments. And then you have something like this, right? You have an overview. Here, for example, we let a test run for a little over a month. And you can see, think of this as like 2 ad sets. You can see the original one, and then you can see the variant where you make the changes. And then you have all of the really interesting KPIs. So the amount of traffic that you have been pushing to the page, the revenue that it did, the transactions, the average order value, the conversion rate, and the revenue per user. And then based on this, you can take all of this data, go in Google, type in A/B testing calculator, and just take the data and put it in there. And that goes back to your question, how long should I run an A/B test? The calculator will tell you. And I don't want to bore you guys with all of the statistics, but that's what makes all of this really scientific. Because there are a lot of fucking long-ass statistical calculations happening in the back end. Like how significant is it? What is the power behind it? And the calculator will do all of this work for you. So you literally just have to take the data from the Google Analytics backend and put it into a calculator to see the increase in conversion rate, the increase in revenue and everything. And then you can analyze the results really easily. For here, for example, it will tell you the statistical significance, right? In this case, 100%. And then it will also tell you how long to run the test until you have a significant result. Rule of thumb for data, if you run an A/B test, this is what you should be going for in the Google Analytics backend and also in the calculator. So you should be having around 1,000 orders per variant. You should have around 20 to 50,000 users per variant. You should go for statistical significance of 90 to 95% at least to minimize risk, and statistical power of 80% to minimize risk. Really quickly, I don't want to dive into this because it's really complex. But what you're doing with this is that you're minimizing your risk. Because if you go for 95% significance, you only have a 5% potential error of running into a false positive or false negative, right? So basically, when you have a 95% significance, it tells you if I'm going to implement this change now, with a 95% possibility, it's going to increase the conversion rate, and we only have this small 5% where it may not work. So, once you have a winner, you want to implement the winner, and then you want to iterate on it. Because it's not only important to increase the conversion rate and average order value, but we also want to derive learnings from it, right? We test something on the copywriting, for example, to resonate more with our target audience, and then we also want to understand why it worked. So, let's break this down together. Anybody has an idea why this worked? Second, Jenny? Idea why it worked?
Why that navigation worked?
Yeah, why we made this change with the navigation.
It was removing friction because people wanted to get to those collections, but that extra step of going to the menu plus people.
Perfect. A+ student right here, guys. So, we basically made the navigation quicker, we made it visual, and we reduced friction. We gave them cognitive ease. They don't have to think too much about where am I going to find the product. They don't need to open the menu and then go through these collections, right? We made it fucking easy for them to just go here. And we know that everybody's going there, so it's really, really highly likely that everybody's going to want to go there, right? That's why it worked. So, now we understood why it worked. And now we want to iterate more ideas off of it. Because we've had this, it increased conversion rate, and now we want to come up with another idea. Here, for example, why don't we make the mobile menu a lot more visual and drive attention here, right? Again, to reduce friction. So this could be another idea to iterate off of it. So every time you have a winner, try to understand why it worked so that you can create more winners afterwards. So, covered a lot of the basics, the psychology, how to run the A/B test, what makes people convert. And now what I want to do in this last section is I want to give you the case studies. Because it may be a bit difficult to understand, okay, what are the changes that I can make on the page now to increase the motivation? What can I make, how can I craft a high converting value proposition? But don't worry, I'm going to show you now. So, really quickly, just so you have it top of mind, these 4 factors are playing into making people convert. We have the motivation, value proposition, incentive and friction, and the customer's anxiety. And I'm now going to break down certain changes that you can apply to on your pages to improve these factors. So, tests that you can run to increase motivation. And this is always going to be the same. I'm going to show you guys the before version on the left-hand side. I'm going to show you the after version on the right-hand side. I'm going to have a big, bold, red block around the change that we make, so you know where we change. And then I'm going to show you the results, how impacted conversion rate and the revenue per user. So, here, for example, on this store, we added an announcement bar with the store benefits, right? We told them, hey, when you're going to buy from us, we're going to give you free shipping, easy returns, and also you're going to be in good hands because we are trusted by thousands and thousands of happy customers. Improved conversion rate by over 3% here, for example. Sure.
When you're actually promoting the easy returns, don't you actually, how do you measure if you don't create the return problem?
What do you mean exactly?
I mean that users are buying and returning the product, and you're paying for the return.
Oh yeah, great question. So you can be tracking this data at the end of the day, right? You can track how you increase conversion rate, you can track how you increase the average order value, revenue per user.
You can just change your return policy so they cannot return it.
Oh, you can do stuff like Alex. Yeah.
in a small, small text on the bottom of the screen is just unreadable.
So that's it. That's what you can be doing to increasing the motivation, right? What else can you do? Motivation is also a lot around the offer. And this is a really, really small change that we did for this brand. Who of you guys is selling bundles or has different variations for different price points for the product? Give me a quick hand. Okay, you guys, then it applies to you. If you have different bundles, what we did here, Beforehand, the lowest priced bundle was pre-selected, right? What we changed was the order of the bundles, and we pre-selected the highest average order one, right? So we basically pre-did the decision for the customer to go for the bigger bundle with the higher average order value. We tested it. It increased conversion rate really slightly, but it significantly increased the average order value by over 20%. So you're making a little bit less orders, but then on every order you have a higher average order value and a higher margin, right? Another test that we ran in the cart drawer. And I also want to talk about the psychological effect behind this. What we see a lot of times happening in stores, they have a great add to cart rate, let's say like 10%, then they have an initiate checkout rate of 7%, and then they have a conversion, right? So we see a lot of drop-offs. So same we saw with this store, a lot of drop-offs happening. So what we wanted to do is, as soon as they did the decision to put the product in the cart, we wanted to reaffirm the decision that they're doing a good job, right? So we kind of want to give them like a small pat on the back, like, hey Alex, you did a good job choosing this product, now go buy it, please. So that's what we did here. We just had this information at top, excellent choice, here are your products. And this increased the conversion rate by over 18%, so it worked really, really well. So, how to test the value proposition, and bonus, how to craft the value proposition in the first place. Give me 1 second. So, are you guys ready for the source for the value proposition? Sweet. This is the before version, what you can see here from Pillow Slides. They didn't really have a value proposition. They've just been saying, Pillow Slides, new colors, now available. So now I'm going to show you guys how you can craft a value proposition based on what your target audience is. So, what I want you to do, export all of your customer reviews. Not if you've stolen them from AliExpress or some shit, but if it's actually from your customer base and your target audience. Export all of the reviews and put it into a spreadsheet. Here, for example, we nearly had 30,000 reviews. And then what you want to do is you want to start reading through them and watch out for keywords. Something like, oh, these slides made me feel like walking on a cloud, right? You want to watch out for those kind of keywords. And what you do next is you see how many people out of the 30,000 are utilizing this word to describe why they bought the product. Here, for example, over 1,000 said, oh, yeah, these feel like walking on a cloud. These are so fucking comfortable. And then you do this with all of the other words that you found. Here, for example, happy. I was so happy with the purchase. Over 2,000 people used the word happy to describe why they made the purchase. And then, for example, we also found pain relieved. A lot of people had pain from like walking like uncomfortable shoes, right? So they feel pain relieved now walking in the Pillow Slides. And then you have the main words, and then it's no Albert Einstein move to put these words together in a value proposition. Like everybody can do that. So we just took these words, walking on clouds, happy, pain relieved, and said, feel relieved and happy every step you take. This is like walking on the clouds, and added a customer review, right? It's no rocket science. It's really fucking easy. And then you test it. For example, it worked over 2.8% better. And we do this process every single time we want to craft a value proposition that resonates with the target audience. Because at the end of the day, and you notice, like when you're buying something, when they're using the words that you would be using to describe the product and the feeling and your pain points, like it resonates so much more because you're thinking like, oh, they really do understand me, right? They know exactly how I feel. They know the pain that I'm going to, and they know exactly what I want. And then you're so much more likely to buy the product. So, same stuff we did, for example, with Solace bands, exactly same procedure, going through the reviews, analyzing the words, putting them there, increased conversion rate by about 7%. Same stuff with Maya, what I showed you earlier. Here, we just added 2 benefits to the value proposition. So we already had a value proposition, instantly relieve period cramps. And what we found out in the answers that a lot of people care about that the product is healthy for them, right? I don't want to burn my stomach or whatever. It's drug-free. So we just added these two to the value proposition, and now it resonated more with the target audience, and again, increased the conversion rate. And then lastly, for example, a fashion brand, right? And maybe you're thinking like, why the fuck would a fashion brand need a value proposition? It's fashion, it's like cotton and shit. But at the end of the day, it applies to like all of the products. You're always buying a product and you're always making an emotional driven decision of buying something, right? And if you can resonate more with you and touch you emotionally, you're more likely to buy something. So here, for example, same stuff, didn't have a value proposition at all. We crafted a value proposition, gave them the product benefits, and now more people are buying. So we went through the motivation, we went through the value proposition. Now I'm going to show you tests to give more incentive or to reduce friction in the customer journey. So here, for example, added store benefits and added the payment providers in the mobile menu to, again, increase the trust for them. Here, for example, really great example of friction that you cannot eliminate, right? We cannot eliminate these steps in the checkout process because we need their data, we need their name and their email address. So what you can do is give them the incentive to follow through and put in all of the data, right? Because it needs a lot of energy for them to put in all of the data. So what we did here, instead of them just having to fill out the data, we gave them small dopamine hits every single time they filled in like one of those fields. So once they put in the email address, we give them a green check mark and we light the box green. And then they're like, oh nice, this is like a game. And then we did this all the time and again, increased conversion rate. So this is really great what you can be utilizing in the checkout to give them more incentives to like follow through with it. What you can also be doing in the checkout is adding a progress bar, right? Just to show them the progress and again, kind of like gamify it a little bit. You're in the first step now, these are going to be the next steps. We're telling them exactly kind of like how long it takes and we're reasoning them, right? Lastly, tests to reduce anxiety, give certainty, and also bonus stuff that you can be doing, yeah? Yeah, it's really the small stuff like that, right? It's literally the fucking easy shit. Like, you're like, why the fuck would I put the month next to it? Because you have people like, a lot of people are dumb. Like, they need to figure out that shit. It's not even that they are dumb. Even if you have intelligent people that are buying from you, like, they don't like putting too much energy into it. You need to make it as frictionless as possible, even with like small stuff like that. It's really great. So, how to reduce anxiety, or more interesting, how to use your customers' anxiety to make more money. First, I will show you how to reduce anxiety, then I will show you how to use anxiety to make more money. So, again, cart drawer, a lot of people are bumping out of the cart drawer, so we wanted to reduce the anxiety and give them like a better feeling. Give them more certainty that what they're doing is the right decision. So, what we did here, just simply adding these review stars and said, hey, listen, we have over 11,735 happy customers that are already shaving with our razors. We're utilizing social proof here. We reduce the anxiety, we will give them certainty that they're doing the right decision, and then also we are future pacing them again, right? Another thing that we did, and this is also really small changes, but just to give them more certainty, we changed the word from the call to action from checkout to safe checkout, gave them different guarantees, right, like trust badges, and then added the payment providers. Really small, but the effective conversion rate increased by over 11%. Now I want to show 3 changes that you can do in your store to use your customers' anxiety to make more money. First of all, FOMO, fear of missing out. We all know this, like, we stay at home, we work, we want to make money, we go on IG in the break, and we see all of our friends having fun at a nice party. Like, fuck. Why am I staying home and not enjoying myself, right? And this is the same effect that we're using here, FOMO. So what we did here is add a timer at the top of the product page saying, hey, we have a huge sale, and if you want to take advantage of that sale, you need to be buying in the next couple of hours. So you need to make the decision today. Not tomorrow, not in 2 days. You either buy now for 50% off or not. And this drove up conversion rate by over 7%. Another stuff that we did for this fashion brand that I showed earlier, we took data from the Google Analytics backend to show how many people are on the product page right now, and then we also took data from the Shopify backend to show how much stock is left. So now we are using two different psychological triggers. We're using scarcity, right? They're looking at the scarce product that's nearly sold out, and then we're using social proof. We're telling them, hey, you're not only looking at a scarce product, but you're looking at the scarce product and others want it too, right? And we all know that, like, we are more likely, well, like, we want the shit that's scarce, and we want it even more if others around us want it, right? So that's what we're using here. Drove our conversion rate by over 12%, and we were like, oh, damn, this seems to be working for this brand, right? So iterated another test off of it, did the same shit, put it in the cart drawer, boom, conversion rate again increased over 16%. Same triggers, same stuff, had a winner, understood why it worked, implemented it, and iterated another version of it that also worked really great. You had a great question earlier about what about tests that have a negative impact, right? What about tests that decrease the conversion rate and didn't perform better than your current page? Great. And you're like, Carl, what the fuck, why great? Because imagine implementing something that does not work. What are the consequences of implementing a change to your page that's going to decrease your conversion rate and decrease your average order value? You're lucky that you A/B tested it and didn't implement it, right? So at the end of the day, with A/B testing, winning tests will make you more money, losing tests will prevent you from losing money. So it's a win-win situation at the end of the day. Conclusion from all of this, before we go into the Q&A, the power of conversion rate optimization and A/B testing is that you can increase your ROAS, you can increase your EPCs, and you can lower your CPAs. You can get more revenue with more profit from the same amount of traffic. You can get a better understanding of the psychology of your target audience. You can test a bunch of shit. You can see what works and what doesn't, and see like where your market responds to it. You can iterate your positioning and product market fit based off of it, right? We show a product, we show a value proposition. Does it work? Yes, great. No, okay. We're going to iterate another stuff that's working better with the market and gets better resonating. And lastly, you have more room for errors in your ad performance. Because if you have a better website performance, it's going to make up for a bunch of shit that's happening in your ad performance, right? So you can test more out of creatives, you can test more out of the copywriting and the media buying because you have a higher performing website. So at the end of the day, what happens if you apply CRO and A/B testing, you're going to get an unfair competitive advantage, the competitive edge that Alex has been talking about earlier. And to put all of this like 50-minute presentation into one sentence, your key takeaway from this should be conversion rate optimization is understanding what your customers want and then giving it to them. And that's what we're doing with all of this. We just want to understand what your customers want so that then we can give it to them. Thank you so much for your attention, everybody. Feel free to scan this and connect with me.
Thank you, Carl. It's a great presentation. I see some of you guys been making like photos. We'll have slides available. We have slides, Jenny? Yeah. Does this microphone work? Cool. Yeah. So, Carl, you're working with a lot of like business owners, like different levels, like 8.
Should I go like this?
I have to stay here? Stand here?
I think we need like space between us.
Oh, yeah. You have too much energy. Okay. All right. So you're working with like a lot of business owners, and you know we have.
Check. Check.
Okay. Hello, hello. Oh, nice. So you're working with a lot of business owners, different levels, like 8, 9-figure level. So what do you think are the biggest kind of like obstacles? Because I mean, it makes so much sense, right? A lot of things are making so much sense that you explain, you're broken down. It doesn't seem like it's, you know, it's too difficult to execute on, right? At the same time, there's like a lot of businesses that have like zero like efforts or very like minimal efforts on this side. What do you think is that? What do you think are the like limiting beliefs or wrong beliefs that business owners have that prevent them from implementing this?
Great question. I think people are looking too much for the quick fix. So they want a tactic, they want a hack, they want a quick win, like best practices to just implement on the store and then focus on the ads, right? And I think like that's the belief system, like that keeps them there, because like they don't want to put like the effort into really doing all of this, like implementing a process like this. And I think the competitive edge for like the brands and clients that we work with that are like crushing it, like they are willing to do it. And also the biggest thing is that like they get this understanding of consumer psychology and understanding like the psychology behind of it, right? It's the same with like the top level and the top 1% of marketers. Like they don't just try to find like a blueprint that they can apply to like all advertorials, but they go like one step further and really understand the principles of how to capture and drive attention, for example, or like the psychology, right, behind it. So, for example, in the Oxford University event that I was going to, Chris Haddad, like he did over like 700 million in sales with copywriting, insane guy. And he was also talking about this. So like the main thing that he was doing is like going to the source of everything. What I was talking about earlier. You don't want to like scratch the surface with your marketing and your messaging. You want to go to like the real source of everything. You really want to understand like their deepest pain points. Like they are not going to talk with their parents or friends about it. They are not going to talk about this with anybody, but like that's what's going to make them buy, right? Like really these deep emotions and these deep pain points that they have. And I think like that's the main thing to kind of get the understanding for the consumer psychology, and then also how to get from the surface like into this like really deep understanding of what makes your target audience buy, what is the emotions that are driving them. And that's like what I try to get with this presentation with the case studies, to always give you the psychological idea of why we did it, right? Whether it be social proof, scarcity, urgency, authority, whatsoever, just so you can get a better understanding that we, like all we do is apply psychology to e-commerce, right? It's not like a tactic or hack or any design principle or something. Like we really mostly focus on understanding the psychology and then utilizing certain psychological effects to drive the emotion and to influence the behavior. Awesome.
So from your observation, like so for example, if like someone doesn't have like tens of thousands of reviews like you showed, like you know how to export them. So what are the alternatives to that?
Alternative is that you go to your existing customer base and take like 500 to 1,000 people, and then you push out these surveys that I was talking about earlier and push them to this existing customer base. And then you ask them all of these questions based around understanding their pain points, beliefs, and desires. So if you don't have like 30,000 reviews or something, or like a high number, you can push out this survey with like a Google Forms, set it up pretty easy, set up a Google Forms, put in the questions, send it to your email list, right, of existing customers, and then also incentivize them to give you the answers. Like why should they give you the answers if they are not a raving fan of your brand? So you could be doing something like, hey, listen, Alex, thank you so much for buying from our brand. We have 10 questions because we want to understand our target audience better, like our customers, and we want to optimize our products. So here are 10 questions, and we would like you to answer them, and we are going to give you $2 in a gift card for every single question you're going to answer. So if you answer out of the 10 questions, we're going to send you a $20 gift card that you can use for like a future purchase. And then we're also going to use your answers to optimize our products so that you're going to like them more, right? So what happens is you get highly qualitative feedback from your target audience on what they want, what they need, where they buy. And you even get like more money from them because you give them a gift card to buy from you again.
Awesome. So in terms of the teams, right? Like, so you offer this as a service, you know, for businesses that fits like specific criteria that makes sense. Like in terms of the teams, let's say someone wanted to build like an internal like conversion rate optimization like team, like who should be on those teams? How those teams are usually structured?
So we structure our teams with 6 people. I would say that in the beginning you could structure the teams with like 2 or 3 people. So really quickly overview from how we do it. I showed you the bird's eye view of the process earlier, right? And we basically have one team member for like every part of the process. So we have like one project manager overlooking everything. Then we have a data analyst for the data. We have a, yeah. Yeah, nearly there. Yeah. We have a project manager overlooking everything. We have a data analyst. We have a CRO specialist, is what we call them, like the people that have been learning the consumer psychology and neuromarketing. We have a designer. We have a copywriter. We have a developer to set up the test. Then again, CRO strategist and the project manager. And then another developer to implement it. So you could probably be doing all of this with like 2 to 3 people, with like one kind of project manager / CRO specialist, and like can also do a bit of like design work and copy. So kind of like a little bit of a generalist. And then you need somebody with like the background on the data analysis and like the consumer psychology. And then you need a developer to like set it up. So you could probably do this with like 3 people as a team in the beginning.
Cool. And so you mentioned about the kind of like how long the task should be to be like statistically significant. Like, let's say you set up a test, right? It means like, I mean, no other task should be happening at this point, at this like stage, right? Because that can impact the results, correct?
Yes. So you should have maximum 1 A/B test per page at any given moment. So for most of the brands that are doing like high 7, low 8 figures, they can run between 4 to 6 tests at any given moment. Something like homepage, collection page, product page, cart, checkout, right, at the same time. But not like 2 tests on 1 page at the same time, because then they are going to affect each other.
But they're also like, I mean, they'll affect each other, right? If you do like, let's say on the product page and then on the cart page, I mean, that could also skew the results, no?
Not really, because you can like analyze the customer journey flow. So you can see like what variants they have been seeing, and then you can kind of like dissect the data.
So that you can see in Google Analytics?
Pardon?
In Google Analytics, like that, you can see that?
Yeah, so you can see, for example, they've seen A homepage, A collection page, B product page, right? So kind of like their journey.
In that case, it's already like a multivariate testing.
Yeah, multivariate is rather like the name for like 5 different landing pages. Yeah.
Cool. Guys, you have questions?
Yeah, actually on that topic, I can raise my voice, it's fine, I think it's deep enough. So what we really struggle with is like, I wish we had, everything constant, like a constant stream of traffic, all other variables, that are kind of the same. But what we keep doing is like changing a bunch of stuff, a lot. And so that's really where we struggle. Like we'll have this idea, all right, we'll raise price, that at the same time we're changing color of the landing page, where, maybe TikTok is off for that given time, so we're not getting traffic from TikTok. We recently onboarded like a Google agency who's running ads. So we get like different traffic sources also that might affect like conversion rate and results. So we always end up like really not understanding if the test was valid, right? That makes sense. Like at the end of the day, we'll figure it out, like what works best or not, but it's not very analytical in a way, right? And of course, it's because maybe we're not there yet. I mean, it's not an 8-figure brand. We don't have that type of structure that like everything is kind of going smoothly, I guess. But yeah, all these things, make a lot of sense, and yeah, but that's the struggle. Like some of them, like we actually knew about them, we just don't know maybe how to implement them, if that makes sense.
Great question. So what you can be doing in the reporting structure, like once you analyze the results and the data that you have, right? You can segment. So you can not only segment for like desktop, mobile, new user, returning user. You can also segment between like the different traffic sources. You can see as soon as you run an A/B test how it is affecting the different traffic sources. How is it affecting the Google, the Facebook, the TikTok traffic? So you need like a certain amount of traffic so it makes sense, obviously. But like this is what you can be doing then to understand like how the A/B test is affecting the different traffic.
Yeah, you haven't mentioned like split testing pricing. Is that something you also do, I guess, right, for conversion rate optimization?
We also do it. It really depends on your business model, where that makes sense. So for example, for like subscription businesses or like businesses that have a lot of returning customers, it could be a headache for your customer service team. Because for example, we just recently did this with a brand and they have a really high subscription rate and a really high like customer retention rate. And what happens is somebody opens the store on a laptop and then 2 hours later on an iPhone, and then they have like 2 different prices. And then they order a product, right? And then 1 day later they go in the store and it has a different price. So it can be a huge headache for the customer service team, like why you run it. But generally it makes a lot of sense. So for example, for this brand that I've shown earlier where we implemented the scarcity time at the top, we increased the pricing from $79 to $89. And then also the upsell from, I think, was 24 to 23. And it didn't affect conversion rate at all. So they just bumped up their average order value by like $15, $20, and they still made the same amount of orders. So price testing can be really, really interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. I have another question, actually. You touched upon the page speed course, page speed. Do you have any benchmarks there? Because we've done all that. We have a Shopify theme 2.0. We compress all the images. We have no videos and stuff to keep it as simple and fast as possible. But then when I look at the Google page speed score, it's shit compared to like, you probably know like the UD from Davey Fogarty, the insane page speed score, and way more images than our website, way more content. So I'm wondering, is there something we're doing wrong? Should we hire a developer that like helps with that? Or, because yeah, I can also share the numbers. I think right now the Google page speed score is like 40. Whereas if you look at the UDI, it's like 85, even closer to 90, yeah.
So the most important metric for page speed that we like to go for is the first contentful paint, because users only care about like how long it takes for the first stuff to load on the page, right? So in best case, you have it below like 2 seconds, rather like 1.5 or 1 second for like the first stuff to load, right? After they click on the TikTok ad, they see the white screen and then they see like images or something like happening, right? And for most stores, it's like 3, 4, 5 seconds and nothing happens and you just see a white screen. So that's like the most important metric. So it's called the FCP in like the Google page speed, should be under like 2 or 1.5 seconds. Because like that's the thing with these Google page speed metrics, like your customers don't care about your score that you have. They only care about like how quickly they see the first elements. And it's really easy to restructure the code in the backend, like the HTML, CSS, and Java, to get a better page speed score on Google. And then the client is happy, but it doesn't really affect like how quickly the page is loading. Google gives you a better rating, right? But it doesn't really affect anything. It's just that you structured the code in a different way so that Google is happy. But for a customer, it's like the same thing. So I would rather go for, when you open it on your iPhone, how quickly can you see like the first elements appearing, instead of optimizing for a really high score.
So you're saying that the page score itself might be misleading as a number, rather look
totally.
at the... All right, good to know. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll leave it to someone else.
I would love to understand a little bit more about how you structure your team. So like for me, we have a CRO specialist, we have a copywriter, a graphic designer, and a developer. So you said you also add like a project manager and a data analyst. So I want to understand mainly between your project manager and your CRO specialist, what's the difference of those roles and how does that like work on I guess on a day-to-day basis between that team coordinating?
Great question. So, one sec. So, difference that we do, we have project manager, and in the same sense, it's a team lead because we have multiple of those teams, right? We are not a brand that has like one team. We have like the agency side with like multiple of those teams. So project manager in that sense is leading the team and also giving more of like the bird's eye view strategy, right? What should we go for? What should like the test look like and everything? So the project manager is working really closely with the data analyst, the CRO specialist, and kind of like managing the strategy and then in like this part again, right? With like those two team members. So those three are working on like multiple steps.
So,
the
project manager is like pretty much a marketing specialist that understands the whole overview of everything?
Yes, so you could turn your CRO strategist into a project manager at the same time, but it's it would rather turn into like a role of a really, really experienced marketer because like they have to understand so much more than just like the CRO stuff, right? Because they need to understand like the market, the different verticals, different industries, what you can be doing, right? Because they need to like figure out all of the strategy. And like maybe they are too focused on like the fine tuning of like the CRO instead of completely testing a new funnel, or like instead of, hey, let's not push the traffic to a collection page, but rather have a landing page. Or instead of like using our regular listicle funnel, let's build advertorials and a VSLs, right? So that's like the way that we utilize the project manager. Data analyst, we use like to dissect the data part, like all of the setting up, all of the tracking, analyzing everything, and it's more about like understanding potentials, right? Something like he is saying to him, hey bro, I've seen that a lot of people only scroll to this section of the product page, think we need to optimize something here, right? Hey bro, I've done the message mining, these are like the main words, let's work together on a value proposition here. So like that's why we dissected it, because for us like also like when you think from the personality type that they have to be, data analyst is like more of a really analytical introvert person, just like straightly looking at the data. And then you need somebody who has like a lot of empathy and a lot of like the psychological like understanding and can think like that's why we kind of like put them apart.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So my question is to do with the amount of tests that you can possibly do. So when you take an average site, a single page, you could have maybe 20, 30, 40 tests that you could come up with, right? And then you have multiple pages on your site that you could test. And so you end up with a list of potentially hundreds of tests that you can do. And you're saying you only do 4 to 6. So my frustration with CRO is the speed at which we can get through all of these tests. And so do you have any ideas or methods in which you are able to move through all this stuff quicker? Because it could be years for you to kind of get to a really well-optimized page.
So, really great question.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Check.
They don't like each other. I think meditation probably would help.
Okay, sweet.
So there's no patience.
Really great question. For this, you can focus on 2 aspects. One is the volume of tests that you run, and one is the quality of ideas that you run. Volume of tests, what I've been talking about is we work with the Bayesian statistical approach, right, here, like to break it down to make it easier. You can increase the volume of tests if you work with sequential testing. Because with Bayesian, you need to have a certain amount of data, like you need to let it run for like 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then you can analyze like all of the data because you need to have like a big sample size. But if you go with sequenced testing, it kind of gives you the borders, like the upper border and the lower border. And then if you have the test performing like way better and hitting the upper border, or like way worse, you can like end it earlier. Does that make sense? So that's for like the way that you test, right? And then the level of ideas, like that's why we have this whole setup like split with these roles and focus really heavy on like the research part. And then like once you have all of the ideas, we use like a framework, because as you said, you come up with like 50, 100 ideas maybe, and then you're limited. You're always limited to, let's say, like 5 to 10 tests a month, right? And then you need to think like out of these hundreds, like which do I take? So what we do is we have 10 different KPIs on how we measure like every single idea. So we could have an idea like, let's create a different value proposition on the home page. And then we have 10 KPIs. And KPI could be something like, is this idea based on the qualitative research that we did? Is this idea designed to increase customer motivation to buy? Is this idea designed to increase conversion rate? Is this idea based on Hotjar recordings, right? So you have all of these like different KPIs, and with this you can, with a really like great understanding beforehand, see like the likeliness of the idea to have a great impact. So you can like work on these two sectors. So like the way that you run the test, and I would highly recommend like the sequential approach, because then you can really increase the volume, because a lot of tests go like this, and like they hit the borders like quickly, so you can really increase it. And then on the other hand, like have a really, really great approach on like the research part and the consumer psychology part, and then like the framework on how you analyze the ideas before like really testing them.
Carl, would you like, so, let's you had a question, right? So in terms of testing, what have you seen, like, would you focus on like small changes? Like you said, okay, so this line of text here, or this thing here, or like big like changes, like totally different templates for the pages and stuff like that?
Also great question. Really depends on like your starting point, right? Are you mid 7 figures? Are you low 8 figures? Are you mid 8 figures? Are you 9 figures, right? And like the higher you get, the more volume you make, like the smaller the changes will be. Because in the beginning you have to do like a lot of these like heavy lifting tests to have like a great impact, right? To like boost conversions. But then if you have a brand that's doing like 100 million a year, and you do like the tiniest change to increase conversion rate by like 0.5%, like you give them an additional 500K a year, right? And then also at like that traffic volume, if you're testing something and like the test is performing worse during the time that you're testing, like you're losing a fuck ton of money. And like we like to do this with the same way you do like an investment portfolio, right? So you want to have a lot of like lower risk but lower return options, and then you maybe go for like 1 or 2 higher risk and higher potential return ones. And that's like the same approach that we have with A/B testing. So we have a lot of like lower risk and lower return ones with like the smallest changes, and then we maybe go for like 1 or 2 big ones, and they can potentially increase it by like 5 or 10% instead of 1, but they can also potentially like decrease it for the time that you're testing it, right?
What do you guys do for statistically significant tests? Like the one you're on for a while and like the results are similar, but the same.
Also great question, also based on the brand, so really individually. So let's say you have a test, you run it for like 1 month, you don't see like a significant change in conversion rate or average order value, then it's more about like, do you as a brand want to do this change, right? Because it's not really going to affect the store, but maybe it looks better, or it like gives a refreshing image, or like you have a nice element and it fits more with like your brand guidelines or something. So then it's just like individual choice if you like want to do it or not, because it's not really going to affect it.
Have you guys found a way to like split test the Shopify checkout without being on the Plus?
Not possible. So like
what about like in Google Optimize? There's a way like not to redirect, but like to edit the code on the Google Optimize. Are you able to access at least some code on and change it? Nothing?
You're not really, and then you can also not implement the changes.
But let's say you split test and you see that this is working well, and then you're like, okay, let me switch to Shopify Plus. Because it would be like a 12-month commitment to switch to Shopify Plus.
So here's the thing, and this is like a really easy like decision-making heuristic for you guys. If you do more than 400 to 500K a month, really consistent, then Shopify Plus is worth it.
I think it's 800K you have to be for it to make sense for fees and everything. But still, like it's like
I'm saying like from the CRO perspective,
CRO.
like based on like how much revenue you can increase based on the changes you make in a checkout.
Because we switched to Shopify Plus, ran like 4 tests on checkout, and all of them that performed worse. Like timers, upselling products and everything, like it just bombed, and we were like, okay, at least we're saving something on fees, but then also the fees are not significant, you know. So,
then you need better tests.
Yeah, I think.
No, I'm not joking, because like you've seen these like tests that we run in the checkout, and like some of them have been increasing performance by like 18%, right? And then
we
if
haven't tried the one with steps. I think that's a good one to try. What was that? Yeah, on one store, yeah. We have to, like, it's a 12-month. Like you can't switch it for 12 months. Yeah.
Yeah. The question that I have about what you spoke is based on increasing the AOV. You know, from what I have in here, you were saying that, okay, so one of the places that you can do this is after add to cart, in cart, checkout, and the thank you page. I was wondering, what's your opinion about promoting more products and accessories directly on the product page? I would like to know your opinion on that, because, based on what you say, I'm thinking that if you start, let's say that you have a main product and you are sending traffic there, do you think it's a good idea to, instead of the main product, try to offer other things, or do we have to wait until this person adds to the cart, I don't know if I explain myself well.
Yeah, it makes sense. You can just try it out, right? Like that's the beauty of testing. So instead of like having just this like one product and then like upselling, you could also have this one product and then have like 3 different bundles, right? So you can just say like product 1 time, product 2 times, product 3 times, and like test that. Or you can have like the product description, then underneath like this section like other customers like this shit, right? So I can also start on the product page.
Or maybe, adding, as you say, a bundle into the main product. Let's say that I'm selling one product and I can have another variant maybe with the whole bundle maybe? Could be like that?
Yes. Generally, what I would really advise is try to find some sort of sense in it. So what you can see here, for example, the regular product is just like the shaver, right? And then like the upsell, like the bundle, is like shaver plus the blades plus a stand. So it's like accessory products around it that like make a lot of sense to buy. So either way, you sell like the same product like 2 or 3 times if it makes sense, or you build like some sort of bundle which really makes sense to buy.
Okay, and the last question that I have, based on that image, for example, do you put like more effort when you are making the test? Do you put more effort on the first view? Let's say that someone is opening on a specific page. Do you think, let's say that I'm starting like working on these improvements, do you think it's more important to start working on the first view than, any other information on while they are like scrolling or stuff? Because for me, the first view that the customer sees when they open the landing page, I think that's the most important part, because that's when they make the decision to keep scrolling or get out of the website. So I would like to know your thoughts about it.
So here's the thing: you can think of your landing page and your product page like in creative, right? And your creative needs to capture the attention and then hold the attention with different hooks, right? Same with these, like Peter Kay makes these fucking 40-minute VSLs, and you like have to like keep attention. Same with the landing page. So obviously you need like a grade above the fold, so a great point there. You need to take the attention that they have now that they've seen the creative
And then you need to convert this into like excitement, right? Into awareness. Like they actually want you to spend the time there. And then you have like a really great above the fold that needs to be resonating with them a lot. And then afterwards you need like really great sections. It's same with like the scroll stopper, and then the hook, and then like the different parts of the creative, whether it be like social proof, showing the product, product benefit, whatever. And the same stuff needs to be happening on the landing page. So that's why for example, the heat maps and the scroll maps are so great, because you can understand like which elements do your people see. It's same with like the video watch through rate. Like if you have a 60-second creative, but everyone is just watching the first 30 seconds, you know that you need to put all of your important information in the first 30 seconds. And the same with like the pages. So that's why your pages also need to be like really neat, right? Same with the product description. That's why I talked about like breaking it into like easy digestible pieces. Needs to have a great above the fold, great product description, bullet points. So same with the creative. You can go bam, 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 bam. Easy to understand, you get all the benefits, and then you buy.
All on the first view, maybe, could be.
Pardon?
I mean, all that information, it will be better if it's on the first view, right? Because that way you will hook the customer to keep scrolling and deciding if they're going to buy it or not. Okay.
Yeah, so the more information you can fit in like the first view, the better.
Gotcha. Thank you.
We noticed a much better performance like in upsells. If you set like more expensive upsells should be offered first, and then as they go through the cart page and checkout, you offer something complimentary that's like smaller price. So once they come to like cart page, you offer them something. Like if you're selling, let's say like some shade or some cosmetic product, you would offer them like a brush. That's like 10% of the purchasing of the cost of the item they have in the cart. And then when you come to checkout, you offer like something that makes sense with shipping, or like shipping protection or stuff like that, you know. So that works a lot better, because there is a lot of we noticed a lot of like decrease in conversion when we offer expensive upsells on the cart page and on the checkout as well. So I think that's
because they already spend the money and they don't want to spend even more.
Yeah, because they made a decision they're going to spend the money.
It's better to start offering, you know, the most expensive like upsells and cross-sells, and then when they make the purchase, we can offer like to add like $5 more, 10, something like that.
Because they make a decision whether or not they want to buy on the product page.
Yeah.
Like they don't get to checkout and they're, oh, do I want to buy this? They already like spent money before they come to checkout. So offering them something more expensive is like a decreased conversion.
That's great, bro. Thank you for that, man.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have to wrap up. So Carl, thank you so much, guys. If you want to talk with Carl, I mean, just get him like some good German beer, and he'll tell you all of the secrets. So yeah, thank you, Carl. Was a lot of great insights.